Hello, my name is Hunter Briggs. I'm 28 years old. I currently work as a strategy department employee at Langford International, a giant corporation specializing in producing and owning high-end and smart furniture brands renowned worldwide. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, a small town nestled amid the majestic Appalachian Mountains, where roads wind through forests of red and gold leaves in the fall, and the air always carries the faint scent of fresh pine. Asheville is as beautiful as a painting, with artistic coffee shops, local farmers markets, and the French Broad River lazily flowing through the city. But for me, this place is not just a peaceful haven. It's a battlefield, where I have to fight every day to prove myself in the glamorous world of the wealthy. I was born and raised in Iowa, a peaceful rural state with endless cornfields stretching out forever. My family is middle class. My dad is a mechanical engineer at a small factory, and my mom is an elementary school teacher. We weren't rich, but we never lacked anything. My parents taught me that success comes from effort, not from luck or connections. I excelled in school from a young age, graduating with honors in business administration from the University of Iowa. After that, I applied to Langford International because I heard they were recruiting young talent. No one introduced me, no back doors at all. I passed 3 rigorous interview rounds, presented strategic ideas for a new line of smart furniture products, and that's how I got hired. That was the proudest moment of my life at the time. I moved to Asheville, rented a small apartment by the river, and began my journey to conquer the American dream. But life isn't that simple. About 6 months after joining the company, I met Charlotte Langford. She's the only daughter of Mr. Benedict Langford, the CEO of the corporation, a famously strict billionaire who built the empire from scratch with his own 2 hands. Charlotte works in the product design department, and we met during an internal project meeting. I remember that day clearly. The bright glass conference room, everyone debating ideas for integrating AI into sofas. I spoke up, presenting market analysis data, and Charlotte, with her shiny golden hair and warm smile, turned to me, nodding in agreement. After the meeting, she invited me for coffee to discuss further. We talked for hours, from business ideas to favorite books. It turned out Charlotte isn't the arrogant heiress type. She's intelligent, passionate, and has a kind heart. We started dating from there, secretly at first because we feared gossip, but love came as quickly as a mountain breeze. I truly love Charlotte. She makes me feel like the luckiest man in the world. But then, rumors spread. The whole company started whispering. Hunter Briggs? That guy's a gold digger. I heard the murmurs behind my back during lunch breaks, the scrutinizing looks in the elevator. They thought I was aiming for the Langford family's enormous fortune, the luxurious villas, yachts, and shares in a series of global brands. I tried to ignore it, but it hurt a lot. I had worked tirelessly, proposing a strategy to expand into the European market that increased revenue by 15% in just the first quarter. My performance was outstanding. Everyone acknowledged it. But promotion? No way. My direct boss, a middle-aged sycophant, always found ways to block my path. You're doing well, Hunter, but Mr. and Mrs. Langford don't want you climbing over their heads. That statement made me feel powerless. Charlotte knows everything. She truly loves me and often has to defend me against her parents' scrutiny. Hunter isn't like that, Dad, she would say to Mr. Benedict during family dinners. But he, with his silver beard and eyes sharp as knives, would just smirk. You're too naive, daughter. Men like him are only after money. Mrs. Eleanor, his wife, is even worse. She's a high society lady, always dressed in haute couture, and looks at me like I'm a bug. Hunter, which department do you work in again? Oh, a strategy department employee. How interesting, but you must be very busy, right? Those subtle jabs made me feel like an outsider. I remember the first time I attended a Langford family dinner. It was a summer evening at their mansion on the outskirts of Asheville. A massive house with lush green gardens and a swimming pool sparkling under the lights. Charlotte pulled me in, holding my hand tightly as if afraid I'd run away. I love you, "And they'll accept you eventually," she whispered. But as soon as I stepped inside, I felt the heavy atmosphere immediately. Mr. Benedict greeted me with a cold handshake. "Hunter, you're here. Hope you didn't get lost on the way." Everyone chuckled, and I could only force a smile. During dinner, they talked about European travel, stocks, and multi-million-dollar deals. I sat silently, unable to say anything. But Mrs. Eleanor wouldn't let me be. Occasionally, she'd turn to me and say something sarcastic like, "Oh, Hunter, you must know a lot about smart furniture, right? Do you have a sofa like that at home?" And the contemptuous laughter would ring out again. I sat there, feeling invisible, like a ghost lost in the world of the elite. Moments like that made my heart tighten. I love Charlotte enough to endure it, but the suspicion from her family cuts into my self-respect like a knife. At night, lying alone in my small apartment, I often wonder, am I worthy? Or are they right? Am I just a gold digger? Charlotte comforts me over the phone. "You're the best man I've ever met. Don't let them discourage you." She talks about her lonely childhood in a wealthy family where her parents were busy with work, and her grandmother in Switzerland was the only one who truly understood her. "Grandma would like you," Charlotte says. But I'm not sure. The pressure keeps building, and I feel like I'm walking a tightrope, with love on one side and collapse on the other. Work isn't any better. Even though I produced sharp data analysis reports that helped the company avoid a risky deal in South America, when the promotion list was announced, my name wasn't on it. "You need to prove more," my boss said, but I know Mr. Benedict is behind it. He doesn't want his potential son-in-law climbing too high too quickly. I work late, sometimes until midnight, just to prove my worth. But the whispers continue. "He's dating Miss Langford just to advance." I try to stay calm, but inside anger and helplessness rage. Charlotte sees how tired I am. She hugs me and says, "I'll convince my dad. We'll get through this." Those comforting words give me the strength to overcome the difficult months. I'm not a gold digger. I'm just a guy from Iowa trying to love a wonderful girl. But the world of the rich and powerful always hides traps. And I understand that I have to fight every day to survive and hold on to the fragile, scandal-filled love between me and Charlotte. My life continued with mounting pressures. But then an invitation changed everything. An invitation that I didn't know would lead to the dramatic climax of my life. I remember that afternoon clearly. The sky in Asheville was overcast with heavy clouds, as if heralding an approaching storm. I was sitting in my office, gazing out the window at the hazy Appalachian Mountains shrouded in mist, trying to focus on my new strategy report. Charlotte called, her voice excited mixed with worry. "Darling, I've decided. I want to officially introduce you to the entire extended family at the upcoming traditional BBQ party. This is a big occasion, you know. There's even a VIP guest returning from Europe, my grandmother. She's flying in from Switzerland, and I'm sure she'll support us." My heart tightened. The Langford family's traditional BBQ party. I had heard Charlotte talk about it many times. It wasn't an ordinary barbecue like in Iowa, where my parents would gather friends with beer and hot dogs. No, this was a grand event at the Langford mansion with hundreds of guests from high society, Michelin-starred chefs, and conversations about multi-million-dollar business deals. And the VIP guest? Grandmother Amelia Langford, the legendary woman Charlotte always mentioned with reverence. She lived in Switzerland, managing a large portion of the family inheritance, and was the only one who dared to stand up to Mr. Benedict. "Grandma will like you," Charlotte said, but I wasn't sure. I was just a guy from Iowa, and now I had to face the entire extended family. The pressure surged like crashing waves, making it hard to breathe. Was this an opportunity to prove myself, or the final trap to push me out of Charlotte's life? A few days later, the official invitation arrived, not via email or text, but a luxurious handwritten letter delivered to my apartment through express courier. The envelope was thick paper embossed with the Langford family crest, a golden lion on a blue background. I opened it with trembling hands, my heart pounding. Inside was an invitation card printed in gold lettering. We cordially invite Mr. Hunter Briggs to attend the summer BBQ party at the Langford Mansion on July 15th at 3 p.m. We look forward to your presence. At the bottom was Charlotte's signature, accompanied by a handwritten note. I love you, and this is our turning point. Please come. I slumped down onto the sofa. The pressure felt as heavy as a boulder on my chest. I imagined myself stepping into the mansion looking perfect, but if I made even one small mistake, everyone, especially Charlotte's parents, would use it to separate me from her. I decided to prepare meticulously. This was a battle, and I had to win. The next morning, I went to the upscale shopping center in Asheville, where luxury fashion stores crowded together. I rented a high-end suit, silver gray, Italian wool fabric, costing half my monthly salary. You look like a true gentleman, the salesperson said, but I only forced a smile. I also bought a pair of shiny leather shoes, a silk tie, and even borrowed a watch from a friend to look more fitting. I practiced in front of the mirror. How to greet, how to smile, how to respond to sarcastic questions. Dear Mr. Benedict, I'm very honored. I muttered for hours. My plan was to arrive an hour early at 2 p.m. to avoid any mishaps. I checked the map, calculated the travel time from my apartment to the suburban mansion, and even accounted for traffic. Charlotte sent encouraging messages. You'll surprise them. I'm so proud of you. But inside, I was so nervous that my hands and feet felt ice cold. This wasn't just a party, it was the final judgment. The day of the party arrived with bright sunshine in Asheville, but my heart was full of dark clouds. I put on the suit, combed my hair neatly, sprayed a light cologne, all to look like a Langford family member. I drove out of the city, through winding roads amid lush green pine forests. The radio played my and Charlotte's favorite song, making me smile as I remembered our dates. I can do this, I told myself. But then, a few miles from the mansion, in a quiet suburban neighborhood by the roadside, I saw an elderly woman with silver hair standing on the shoulder, looking confused and frail. She was wearing an old coat, holding a small handbag, her eyes darting around as if lost. My heart clenched. She looked about 80 years old with wrinkled skin, and as I slowed down, she waved weakly. I pulled over even though I knew I had a tight schedule. Ma'am, are you okay? I asked through the window. She looked at me, her eyes cloudy. I don't remember the way home, I'm lost. Her voice was vague and trembling, and I immediately recognized the signs of Alzheimer's. She didn't remember her name, only mumbling about a house with a rose garden. I glanced at my watch, more than an hour until the party. I can help quickly, I thought. I couldn't leave her. My conscience wouldn't allow it. In Iowa, my parents taught me that helping others is the most important thing, even if it means personal sacrifice. I stepped out of the car, my suit fluttering in the wind, and gently reassured her. Don't worry, ma'am, I'll help you find your way. We wandered around the neighborhood with me supporting her slow steps. She rambled incoherently about an old house and a daughter far away. I asked neighbors, called the local police to check for any missing person reports, but there were no immediate leads. Time flew by, my heart pounding. I'll be late, I thought, but seeing the trembling old woman, I couldn't bear to leave. Suddenly, light rain began to fall. The summer showers of Asheville, not heavy but enough to make things damp. My suit started getting dirty, the fabric picking up mud from the soggy paths. My shiny leather shoes were now muddy, my hair disheveled from the wind and rain. I tried to shield her with my coat, but I ended up soaking wet myself. You're so kind, young man, she mumbled, gripping my hand tighter. Finally, after nearly 40 minutes of wandering, she suddenly stopped in front of a small house with a rose garden. This is it, my home, she exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. She thanked me profusely. Young man, God will bless you. You've saved me. I smiled, though my heart was full of anxiety. Take care of yourself, ma'am. I ran back to the car, checked the clock. I was already nearly 40 minutes late compared to my early plan. I sped toward the mansion with the rain still drizzling, my heart pounding as if it would burst. I'll arrive late and looking like this? I thought, so nervous that my hands shook on the wheel. The pressure from the invitation had turned into real fear. Was this the biggest mistake of my life? Or was fate testing me? The road leading to the Langford mansion seemed endlessly long. The pine tree canopies on both sides of the road rushed past the car windows, blurred in the thin veil of rain, but I no longer had the mind to admire Asheville's beauty. The high-end suit I had rented with so much effort was now soaking wet, wrinkled, and caked with mud from the muddy streets. My shiny leather shoes were now filthy as if I'd just trudged through an Iowa field after a downpour. My hair was disheveled, rainwater dripping from my forehead down my cheeks, and I could smell the musty dampness rising from my clothes. I look like a vagrant, I muttered to myself, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I imagined stepping into the party venue looking like this. The contemptuous stares from Mr. Benedict, the whispers from the high society guests, and Charlotte. Oh, Charlotte. What would she think? I had promised her I'd arrive early, that I'd prove myself worthy. Now what? Everything shattered just because of one act of kindness? I pressed the accelerator harder, the car hurtling through the treacherous mountain curves, tires screeching on the slick road. My heart pounded erratically, like a timed bomb about to explode. I recalled the invitation in the handwritten letter, punctual, polite, formal attire. Those words now felt like a curse. Mr. Benedict and Mrs. Eleanor would surely use it to attack me, to prove that I wasn't worthy of their daughter. I wondered, should I turn back, go home, shower, and send Charlotte an apology message? But no, I couldn't do that. Charlotte had fought for me so many times, defending me in front of her parents. If I gave up now, I'd lose her forever. Be yourself, my dad in Iowa had once said, and myself was someone who didn't abandon those in need. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. I'll explain. They'll understand. But deep down, I knew they wouldn't. The Langford mansion appeared before me, a colossal building with white stone columns, lush green gardens, and a swimming pool sparkling under the lights despite the rain. The iron gates towered high, adorned with the family's golden lion emblem, like a barrier between my world and theirs. I stopped the car in front of the gate, engine still running, and stared at it. The dashboard clock showed 3:35 p.m., nearly 40 minutes late from the invited time. My appearance right now. God, I looked like I'd just escaped an accident. Should I go home or step inside? The indecision tore at me like two monsters in a tug of war. One side was fear. Go back, Hunter, don't humiliate yourself. The other was love. Charlotte is waiting. She needs you there. I turned off the engine, stepped out into the rain, the cold water seeping through my thin suit jacket. My hand trembled as I pressed the gate buzzer. I have to do this, I whispered. The gatekeeper, an old man in a black uniform, peered at me through the small window with suspicious eyes. He must be used to elegant guests arriving in limos, not a disheveled guy like me. Name? He asked curtly. Hunter Briggs. I'm invited to the BBQ party. I handed over the invitation letter, now crumpled from the rain. He checked the list on his computer, shaking his head in annoyance. You're late. And looking like this? I swallowed hard. I had an incident on the way. Please let me in. He sighed, verified my identity over the phone with someone inside, then reluctantly opened the gate. Go in, but don't mess things up. The gate creaked open and I stepped through, each footfall heavy as if carrying a boulder. My heart pounded, the anxiety so intense that my ears rang. This was the gate of judgment, and I was plunging headfirst into hell. The vast party venue, sheltered by large white tents to ward off the rain, was packed with guests. The savory aroma of grilled meat mingled with lively chatter and laughter. Soft jazz music echoing from the speakers. Hundreds of people, business tycoons, high society figures, Langford relatives, gathered around long banquet tables holding sparkling glasses of wine. But as I emerged from the entrance, the atmosphere suddenly fell silent, as if someone had flipped a switch. The entire venue went quiet. They turned to look at me. A late, unkempt young man walking alone amid a sea of elegance. My suit filthy, shoes mud-caked, hair tousled. I was like a stain on a perfect painting. Stunned gazes focused on me, a few people chuckling softly, covering their mouths as they whispered, "Who is that? Looks like a beggar." My heart sank, my face burning with shame. I wanted to turn and run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. Charlotte was the first to react. She rushed over from the main table, her light blue dress fluttering, her eyes red-rimmed with worry. "Hunter, what happened to you? I've been calling you nonstop." Her voice trembled, but there was no reproach. She grasped my hand tightly, squeezing it gently as if to transfer strength. I was so worried. "What happened? Heavy rain?" I whispered a hurried explanation. "I encountered an old lady who was lost. I couldn't leave her." Charlotte nodded, her eyes glistening. "You're too kind. Don't worry, I'm here." My heart warmed a little amid the storm, but then Mr. Benedict approached, his face flushed with anger. He was tall, his silver beard gleaming under the lights, and his eyes sharp as knives. "Hunter Briggs, you're late and looking like this? Is this the respect you show my family?" He bellowed, his voice echoing across the venue, silencing everyone. I stood there, rainwater still dripping from my hair, feeling as small as a scolded child. Mr. Benedict continued his tirade, insulting me in front of the entire crowd. "Who do you think you are? A kid from Iowa dating my daughter to dig for gold and now daring to show up late and disheveled like this? We invited you politely, required formal attire, but what about you? This is clear proof. You're not worthy." Those words cut into my heart like knives, the pain so intense I nearly collapsed. The crowd murmured, a few nodding in agreement, chuckles rising from some corner. Mrs. Eleanor, his wife, stood beside him in her lavish haute couture dress, eyeing me from head to toe with contemptuous disdain. She said nothing, but that look was worse than words, as if I were a loathsome insect. "Truly disappointing," she whispered just loud enough for me to hear, her lips curling in scorn. My heart pounded wildly, the tension reaching its peak. I wanted to explain, to tell about the old lady, but the words stuck in my throat. Charlotte tried to intervene. "Dad, he had an incident. Please listen to him." But Mr. Benedict waved her off. "An incident? That's the excuse of an irresponsible fool." I felt the world spinning, shame and anger mixing together. This was the moment I feared most, being publicly judged, pushed to the margins once again. Was this the end, or was something even worse waiting? I didn't know, but at that moment I just wanted to disappear. Suddenly, a beep sound echoed from the audio system, and the large projection screen in the middle of the party venue, which had previously been used to display a slideshow about the Langford family history, suddenly lit up. The blinding light cut through the tense atmosphere, causing everyone to startle and turn their heads. Mr. Benedict halted his words, Mrs. Eleanor frowned, and the crowd fell silent. I looked up, my heart still pounding wildly, not understanding what was happening. The video began to play with clear images and sharp audio, as if filmed by a professional team. It was me? On the screen I saw myself, in the now disheveled silver-gray suit, supporting the silver-haired old lady as we wandered around the suburban neighborhood. The angle was from above, perhaps from a drone or hidden camera capturing every detail. Me reassuring her, "Don't worry, ma'am, I'll help you find your way." Her mumbling about the house with the rose garden. The rain falling, my clothes getting soaked, my shoes caked in mud. And finally, her exclaiming when she found her home, thanking me profusely. The sound was so clear that I could hear the patter of the rain and my own voice trembling with worry. I was stunned, standing frozen in place as if turned to ice. "What is this?" I whispered, my eyes glued to the screen. "How could this be? Who filmed it? Why?" My mind spun in confusion, the anxiety turning to bewilderment. Was this some joke, or did someone want to humiliate me further, proving my irresponsibility by exposing the reason for my lateness? But then as the video ended with me running back to the car, the party venue erupted. Everyone was shocked, buzzing with chatter like a swarm of bees. Oh my God, he helped an old lady who was lost? That's why his suit is dirty? Who filmed that? The stunned gazes now shifted to surprise, even admiration from a few people. Charlotte gripped my hand tighter, her face pale with astonishment. She turned to me, her voice trembling. Hunter, the old lady you helped is the most important guest at today's party. That's my grandmother returning from Switzerland. My heart seemed to stop. Grandmother? Amelia Langford? The frail old woman lost with signs of Alzheimer's? Was the powerful woman holding a large portion of the family's inheritance? I couldn't believe it, my mouth agape, emotions surging like a tsunami. From inside the mansion, an elegant figure emerged, walking slowly but with dignity. The old lady, no, Mrs. Amelia Langford, had completely transformed, no longer appearing confused and weak. She was dressed in a long light blue dress, her silver hair neatly pinned up, wearing a sparkling pearl necklace, looking like a true European lady. She smiled warmly, stepping into the middle of the party venue under the twinkling lights, and everyone fell silent in respect. She had lived in Switzerland for decades, managing the family's vast assets, and was the only one Mr. Benedict had to defer to. She stopped in front of me, her eyes glistening, not from illness, but from emotion. "This young man," she declared in a clear, strong voice that echoed through the microphone, "helped me without knowing who I was. He didn't care about the time or his own appearance. That is the character a Langford family member should have." The venue buzzed again, but this time with approval. Mr. Benedict and Mrs. Eleanor exchanged looks, their faces pale as if they'd been slapped hard. Charlotte's parents couldn't stay silent. Mr. Benedict stepped forward, his voice slightly shaky. "Mother, why did you do this? What kind of test is this?" Mrs. Eleanor interjected, her voice shrill. "You pretended to be lost? With drones filming? Why didn't you tell us beforehand?" Mrs. Amelia smiled lightly, turning to them with sharp but affectionate eyes. She explained, her voice slow like telling a fairy tale. "I've heard Charlotte confide a lot about this young man, Hunter Briggs. She told me how you've been oppressing him, looking down on him just because of his ordinary background. You think he's a gold digger, but I wanted to verify. So when I returned to the country, I planned this. To test my future grandson-in-law. I pretended to be lost, with a hidden filming team to record it. If he had ignored me because he was afraid of being late or getting dirty, then perhaps he wouldn't be worthy. But look, he chose kindness, even knowing it would cause trouble." The people around nodded in agreement, and I felt a warm current spreading through my heart. She turned to Charlotte, stroking her hair. "My dear, Hunter is a kind-hearted young man worthy of you. I will support you too." I was still in shock, but Charlotte hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Amelia invited me onto the small stage in the middle of the venue. "Hunter, speak up. Everyone wants to hear from you." My heart pounded wildly, but this time from emotion rather than fear. I stepped up, holding the microphone with trembling hands, and spoke humbly. I just did what anyone should do. Help others, no matter who they are. I love Charlotte for who she is, not for her family or wealth. Thank you, Mrs. Amelia, for everything." My words were simple and sincere, and the venue erupted in applause. The contemptuous gazes now turned to respect, and even Mr. Benedict clapped, though his face remained stiff. After the speech, the atmosphere of the BBQ party changed completely. Everyone joined in with joy, laughter ringing out, the savory aroma of grilled meat wafting through the air. I sat beside Charlotte and Mrs. Amelia at the main table, feeling like it was a dream. Grandmother listened to our touching love story, how we met during a project meeting, our walks along the French Broad River in the rain, and the times Charlotte defended me in front of her parents. She smiled warmly. You two are like me and your grandfather back then. True love between two different worlds." Then while everyone was busy with the food, she pulled me and Charlotte to a quiet corner, revealing a secret about her beloved granddaughter. "Hunter, you should know. Charlotte had previously gone through a relationship that her parents forced upon her. A young man from a wealthy family, suitable in status, but Charlotte didn't love him. I intervened because I knew she would be miserable if she married someone she didn't love." Charlotte blushed, hugging her. "Grandma, I love you the most." I held Charlotte's hand, emotions welling up. It turned out she had endured pressure just like me. That moment made me realize life is full of surprises. From an invisible person being oppressed, I was now recognized. Mrs. Amelia whispered to me, "You've passed the test. Take good care of Charlotte." I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. The party lasted into the night, with jazz music and lively stories. Mr. Benedict avoided me, but his gaze had changed, no longer contemptuous. Mrs. Eleanor was awkward, only nodding when I greeted her. Charlotte was radiant. "See? Everything will be fine." I hugged her, feeling like a door to heaven had just opened before me. The days following the BBQ party changed everything at a dizzying pace, as if the mountain winds of Asheville had swept away the fog shrouding my life. I returned to my small apartment by the French Broad River, lying awake in bed, my mind still swirling with images from that evening. Mrs. Amelia, the unexpected savior, had not only rescued me from humiliation but also opened a new chapter in my journey within the Langford family. The next morning, as the sun rose over the Appalachian Range, I received a call from Charlotte. Her voice was excited. "Darling, Grandma has talked to Dad. She demanded that he reconsider promoting you in the company. She said you're worthy, and no one is allowed to oppress you anymore." My heart pounded, a mix of anxiety and hope. Mrs. Amelia, with her authority from Switzerland, had used her commanding voice to shift the dynamics. A few weeks later, the good news exploded like a bomb in the company. I was sitting in the strategy department office, gazing at the lazily flowing river, trying to focus on a market analysis report for Asia, when my direct boss called me into his room. He, the middle-aged sycophant who had always blocked my path before, now looked at me with a forced smile. "Hunter, congratulations. The leadership has decided to promote you to the position of head of marketing." I was stunned, my ears ringing. Head of marketing, a position many dreamed of, where I could lead global campaigns for Langford International's smart furniture brands. It wasn't just a step up, it was the recognition I had fought for over so many months. I remembered the late nights at work, the ideas dismissed simply because you're not ready yet. Now everything had reversed. Charlotte rushed to my office right after, hugging me tightly in the hallway. "I knew it. You deserve it so much." Tears streamed down her face, and I could feel the pride surging from her heart. "I chose the right person," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. The promotion news spread like wildfire through the corporation. An internal newsletter, the Langford Insider, which typically featured company achievements, dedicated the front page to congratulating me. The bold headline, "Hunter Briggs, from young strategist to head of marketing, a story of kindness and talent." The article detailed the BBQ party, how I helped Mrs. Amelia without knowing who she was, and how that act had changed the leadership's perception. They quoted Mr. Benedict. "Hunter has proven his value not only through his work, but also through his character." I read it with my heart racing, feeling like I was living in a Hollywood movie. Colleagues who had once whispered "gold digger" behind my back now patted me on the shoulder in congratulations. "You're amazing, Hunter." A few even offered subtle apologies. "We misunderstood you." I smiled without holding grudges because I knew real change comes from within, and now I had the chance to prove myself once more. In my new position, I dove into work like a wild horse set free. I continued to dedicate myself fully, proposing creative marketing solutions I had only dared to dream of before. I led the team in developing the Smart Home for All campaign, integrating AI into furniture to make life easier, especially targeting emerging markets like Asia and Africa. The company kept expanding, and I felt like a true part of that empire. Every morning when I woke up, I looked out at the French Broad River, thinking about my journey from Iowa to here, my heart full of gratitude. But the anxiety lingered. Could I maintain this? Or would the new pressures crush me? The biggest change came from Mr. Benedict and Mrs. Eleanor. They began to view me more favorably, though slowly and without direct apologies. Mr. Benedict, during a leadership meeting, publicly praised my idea. "Hunter, your Africa strategy is good. Keep it up." His gaze was warmer now, no longer sharp as knives. Charlotte and I started having happy moments without worrying about interference. We walked hand in hand by the river and she hugged me tightly. "You're my hero." That pride made me stronger, but it also added pressure. I had to keep proving myself. The company expanded and I led major projects, collaborating with a startup in Singapore on eco-friendly furniture or a charity campaign in South Africa, donating smart furniture to poor schools. Each success was a dramatic twist, from an invisible guy to a leader. But I still remembered that party with special gratitude for Mrs. Amelia. She called from Switzerland regularly, asking about work and our relationship like a true grandmother. "My boy, keep that kind heart of yours," she would say, her voice warm over the line. Those calls made me feel no longer out of place, but truly part of the Langford family. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. A year after that fateful BBQ party, my life turned to a new chapter full of drama and emotion. I clearly remember the months preparing for the wedding, a journey no less nerve-wracking than my first time stepping into the Langford mansion. Charlotte and I decided to get married on a brilliant summer day in Asheville, when the leaves on the Appalachian Range were lush green and the air carried the faint scent of wildflowers. We spent hours discussing everything, from wedding flowers to the guest list, from the menu to the speeches. I was very worried because this wasn't just our wedding. It was a major event for the Langford family. "Are you scared?" Charlotte asked one evening as we sat on the balcony of my apartment watching the French Broad River sparkle under the moonlight. I admitted, "Yes, I'm scared. Scared that your parents still haven't fully accepted me." She laughed, kissing my cheek lightly. "They've changed, darling, and Grandma will be there." Her words comforted me, but inside the anxiety still churned like waves. Would everything go smoothly, or would there be another twist that pushed me back to being invisible? The wedding was grand at the Langford Villa, the place where a year ago I had nearly turned around and run away. The villa was lavishly decorated with large white tents spread across the lush green lawn, white roses, Charlotte's favorite flower, arranged everywhere, and an outdoor stage with a view overlooking the majestic mountains. Hundreds of guests gathered, including the full extended family, from distant relatives in Europe to global business partners of Langford International. The atmosphere was lively from early morning, with soft music from the live band and the savory aroma of food from the outdoor kitchen. I stood in the dressing room wearing a custom-tailored white suit, my hands trembling as I tied my tie. I'm about to become Charlotte's husband, I told myself, my heart pounding. The anxiety peaked as I thought about the journey to get here, from an ordinary guy from Iowa called a gold digger, to now standing amid this elite world. Charlotte texted me, "I love you. Today will be perfect." I smiled, but my heart still worried. Would Mr. Benedict look at me differently? Mrs. Amelia officiated the ceremony, a decision that surprised everyone but was deeply meaningful. She flew in from Switzerland a week early, staying at the villa to help us prepare. She was as elegant as ever, with her silver hair pinned up high and a warm smile. "I'm so happy to witness you two," she said during the rehearsal, her eyes glistening. Benedict and Eleanor, though still a bit conservative, he still frowned when mentioning my background, she still favored high society things, had clearly accepted me. Mr. Benedict even personally signed a check for part of the wedding costs, and Mrs. Eleanor helped Charlotte choose a wedding dress from a famous designer in Paris. "Hunter, you look fine," Mr. Benedict said to me one evening before the wedding, his voice a bit awkward but sincere. I nodded, emotions welling up. This was an implicit forgiveness after so many months of oppression. Mrs. Eleanor smiled when she saw me trying on the suit. "You look like a true gentleman." Those small changes made me feel a mix of anxiety and happiness, as if the final door had opened. One of the most touching moments was when I invited my birth parents from Iowa to attend. My parents, simple rural folks who had never set foot in such luxurious places, flew to Asheville for the first time. I was very worried, afraid they'd feel out of place amid the high society crowd. But when they arrived, everything became unusually warm. My dad, in his old but clean suit, patted my shoulder. "Son, I'm proud of you." My mom cried as she hugged Charlotte. "Daughter-in-law, you look so beautiful." They were welcomed warmly. Mrs. Amelia hugged my mom like family, sharing stories about her own childhood in Europe to make her comfortable. Mr. Benedict shook my dad's hand, talking about work. "Mr. Briggs, Hunter learned a lot from you." That moment made the wedding even more emotional, like a bridge between two worlds, the humble Iowa and the glamorous Asheville. I watched my parents sitting among the guests, smiling happily, and my heart tightened with emotion. "Without them, I'd be nothing," I whispered to Charlotte. She nodded, tears streaming down. "They're my family now." The ceremony began at sunset, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, dyeing the sky red. Mrs. Amelia stood on the stage, her voice echoing through the microphone. "Today I witnessed the true love between Hunter and Charlotte. A love that overcomes all barriers." We exchanged rings, kissed amid thunderous applause. The atmosphere was joyful and warm, spreading everywhere. Guests chatting and laughing, children running on the lawn, and the band playing romantic love songs. The reception that followed was a grand feast. Traditional BBQ grilled meats combined with high-end European dishes, wine from the family's vineyards in Switzerland. Everyone danced under the twinkling lights, and I pulled Charlotte onto the dance floor, holding her as we spun. "You're my wife now." She laughed, her voice trembling. "Forever." In the middle of the reception, Mrs. Amelia suddenly stepped onto the stage, holding the microphone and announcing loudly, "Hunter and Charlotte, Grandma is giving you two a beachfront villa in Carolina, and also a honeymoon trip around Europe." Applause thundered throughout the room, everyone cheering in congratulations. I was speechless, hugging her tightly, my voice choked. "Grandma, I don't know what to say." Charlotte shed tears. "I love you, truly." A beachfront villa, something I had never dared to dream of, and a honeymoon in the most romantic places in the world. But that gift wasn't just material. It was a sacred blessing from her, the recognition I had longed for in this family. Mr. Benedict nodded slightly in agreement, and Mrs. Eleanor smiled too, though her expression still held a bit of reservation. They had accepted us. That moment made my hands tremble with emotion, because it wasn't just the end of those months of silent struggle, but the beginning of a truly happy chapter in my life. The wedding continued in joy and warmth late into the night. We cut the multi-tiered cake with white frosting and rose decorations amid roaring laughter. My parents shared stories of my childhood with everyone, making the crowd burst into laughter. Hunter once fell off his bike chasing the neighbor's dog. Charlotte chimed in, "Now he only chases me." Mrs. Amelia told about grandfather who built the family from scratch. Love is the foundation, like Hunter and Charlotte today. The atmosphere was cozy, like one big family with no more barriers. I felt the change. Colleagues from the company patted my shoulder in congratulations. Langford relatives shook my hand like family. The initial anxiety melted away, replaced by overflowing joy. But deep down, I still felt a light worry. Would this happiness last? When most guests had left, leaving only dim lights and fading music, Mr. Benedict pulled me out to the villa's balcony. The moon shone brightly over the mountains, a cool breeze blowing through. He handed me the remaining glass of wine, his voice low. "Hunter, you son-in-law, I hope you forgive me for what I've done before. I was stubborn, but now I see you're a good person. Take good care of Charlotte, okay?" His words were like a final warming flame. Not a direct apology, but enough to make my heart tighten with emotion. I looked at him, his eyes glistening under the moonlight. "Dad, I forgive you, and I promise to love Charlotte forever." We shook hands, the first time truly warm. He patted my shoulder. "Welcome to the family." In that moment, I felt all the pressure dissolve, leaving only happiness. After the wedding, Charlotte and I embarked on a new chapter, our honeymoon in Europe, a luxurious gift from Mrs. Amelia. We flew to Paris first, the city of love with its narrow cobblestone streets and the Eiffel Tower sparkling under the night lights. I clearly remember the moment the plane landed, Charlotte's hand gripping mine tightly, her eyes shining. "Hunter, darling, this is our beginning. No more worries." My heart pounded with anxiety. This was my first time leaving the US, and everything felt new, like a dramatic dream. We stayed at a 5-star hotel by the Seine River, in a suite with a balcony overlooking the lazily flowing water. In the early days, we wandered through the Louvre, admiring the Mona Lisa, and I whispered to Charlotte, "You're more beautiful than that painting." She laughed, hugging me tightly. "You're silly, but I love you for it." We enjoyed fresh croissants in the morning, bitter coffee at roadside cafes, and romantic dinners with red wine. Every moment was filled with emotion, as if our love was blooming amid ancient Europe. From Paris, we went to Rome, where the ancient ruins overwhelmed me. We tossed coins into the Trevi fountain, wishing for eternal happiness, and strolled through the Colosseum under the brilliant summer sun. Charlotte shared history, her voice excited. "Can you imagine, this was once an arena for gladiators?" I nodded, but my mind was on the future. A bright future supported by everyone. Charlotte's parents had now fully accepted me. Mr. Benedict even emailed congratulations for the trip. "Enjoy yourselves, you two. I'm proud." Mrs. Eleanor video called, asking about the European weather. Colleagues at Langford International sent messages. "Congrats to the newlywed boss." And Mrs. Amelia from Switzerland called weekly. "Where are you two now? Tell me about it." That support made me feel strong, but also added anxiety. Could we build a perfect life? In Rome, we began planning for the future. One evening, sitting on the hotel balcony overlooking the Vatican, Charlotte rested her head on my shoulder. "Hunter, darling, when we get back to the US, what will we do?" I thought, my heart racing as the idea formed. "We'll establish a charity fund in Mrs. Amelia's name, focused on helping the elderly who are alone, like how I once helped your grandmother." Charlotte looked up, her eyes glistening. "That's a great idea. Grandma will be proud. We can use money from the beach villa to start it, organizing programs for medical support, housing, and even smart furniture technology to make their lives easier." We talked for hours, sketching out plans, partnering with Langford International to sponsor products, inviting Alzheimer's experts to join, and expanding nationwide. The idea made me anxious. This wasn't just charity. It was a way to give back to life and prove that kindness always spreads. Charlotte hugged me. "You're the most wonderful man. Our future will shine brightly." The trip continued to Switzerland, where Mrs. Amelia invited us to her home, a historic villa by Lake Geneva with lush green vineyards and views of the snow-capped Alps. She greeted us at the airport, hugging us tightly. "You too. I've been waiting for this day for so long." We stayed there for a week, enjoying cheese fondue and local wine, strolling by the lake under the gentle autumn sun. She shared family stories. "Your grandfather started from nothing, just like you, Hunter." I listened, emotions welling up. From the oppressed guy from Iowa, now sitting here as a true member. We discussed the charity fund. "I fully support it. Use my name, Amelia Foundation for the Elderly," she said, her eyes bright. Charlotte and I planned in detail, starting with donations from the family, launching events in Asheville and collaborating with non-governmental organizations. The anxiety grew when thinking about the challenges. Would we succeed? But with everyone's support, I believed we would. On a yacht on Lake Geneva, Charlotte and I embraced under the moonlight. "Hunter, darling, I want to have children, a small family." My heart raced, happiness mixed with worry. "Me too. We'll be good parents." We imagined life at the beach villa, waking to the sound of waves, telling our kids stories about our love journey at night. That future was bright. I'd continue leading the marketing department, expanding Langford into Europe, Charlotte pursuing eco-friendly product design, and the charity fund as our legacy. But anxiety lingered. Life is full of surprises like that party a year ago. Upon returning to the US, we dove into building the charity fund with overflowing enthusiasm, as if all the previous challenges were just stepping stones for this mission. Right after landing in Asheville, where the mountain air still carried the faint scent of fresh pine and the French Broad River flowed lazily, we rented a small, charming office in the city center. A cozy space with light wooden walls and large windows overlooking the majestic Appalachians. We hired a reliable local lawyer who meticulously handled the legal paperwork from operating permits to tax regulations, ensuring everything was as solid as the foundation of a house. Mrs. Amelia from Switzerland immediately wired the startup funds along with a warm message. "Use it, my dear ones. I'm proud of this idea." With that money as the base, we organized the fund's launch event at a luxurious hall on the outskirts, inviting the entire Langford family and colleagues from the company. Faces that once whispered behind my back now crowded in, their eyes full of curiosity and admiration. Mr. Benedict, with his silver beard and authoritative voice, stepped onto the stage to speak. "I'm proud of my son-in-law and daughter. They're not just building a family, but spreading kindness to the community." Mrs. Eleanor, with her familiar aristocratic style, helped invite more high society guests, turning the event into a lively networking party. The fund focused on supporting the lonely elderly, providing smart furniture with sensors to detect falls and automatically call for help, organizing regular visitation programs with young volunteers bringing warm stories, and offering in-depth support for Alzheimer's patients through free medical consultations and workshops. Every time I think about the fund, I remember the moment Mrs. Amelia pretended to be lost in the rain, her frail appearance but clever eyes, and I tell myself, this is how kindness spreads from a small act to a grand mission. Charlotte, with her radiant smile and eyes sparkling with pride, whispered in my ear, "Hunter, darling, we're truly changing the world one step at a time." Today I sit here on the spacious balcony of the resort at the beach villa, the lavish wedding gift from Mrs. Amelia, gazing out at the vast ocean under the setting sun, where deep blue waves crash rhythmically onto the fine white sand, carrying the salty sea breeze mixed with the scent of salt and seaweed. Charlotte is sleeping soundly inside the room, her golden hair splayed across the pillow, her steady breathing a reminder of the peaceful happiness we've built together. I smile, a gentle but nostalgic smile as memories flood back to that day, the day I nearly didn't step through the gates of the Langford mansion, with my disheveled suit, mud-caked shoes, and a heart heavy with hesitation between shame and love. My heart was pounding wildly then, anxious to the point that my hands shook on the steering wheel along the drizzling road, but that courageous decision changed everything. Sitting here amid the crashing waves and whispering wind, I think about advice for anyone feeling lost. No matter how difficult the circumstances, with contemptuous stares or pressures weighing like boulders, just be a good person. Help without calculation, sincere without expectation. Then good things will spread like ripples on the sea's surface, reaching distant shores you never imagined. And most importantly, dare to move forward for love. Dare to face the storm to find the rainbow. If I had turned back that day, I would have regretted it for life, forever tormented by the lost opportunity and the love that nearly slipped away.